1999 was a heck of a year for memorable movies. We have some films I've only heard of out of popularity, such as Green Mile and Fight Club, and others my eyeballs have watched, like The Wood, The Mummy, and Life. I could go on and on with the list of hits from this year. It's definitely a great year, not like 2024. The film that I want to highlight is The Matrix, which had an early debut in March of that year. I don't know how many people would agree, but I dare say that no other movies that year touched this film in the sense of creativity and innovation. Say what you want about the sequels, but this one right here, it's undeniably top notch. Let's get plugged in to how The Matrix shook up the film industry. Warner Brothers was looking for an idea that could be turned into a comic book when they approached the Wachowskis for the project. How an assignment from a comic book to a feature film happened is beyond me, but good for the Wachowskis. They turned their temporary job into a full-time job with all the benefits. The Wachowskis would use this opportunity to combine the various things they love, such as martial arts, anime, and science fiction, into one film. Quick aside, I know some people are going to hate me for this, but I have to insert the name Sophia Stewart into the conversation because her name has been connected to the making of the Matrix script. In the 70s, Sophia Stewart wrote a book and then later some treatments that had similar themes to The Terminator and The Matrix. A recall from my Planet of the Apes video, a treatment is a document that helps summarize the project, such as the major concepts that the project will talk about, discuss, show, and scenes that should be shot. Despite Stewart reporting that she sent her treatment to the studio, she did not produce proof that Warner Brothers received it or that the directors used her work. After a number of lawsuits, she was awarded a monetary amount, and this was to pay her lawyer fees. From my research, that's the only thing she was paid for, but feel free to do your own research. There are a number of articles that break down the legal matters related to copyright and such. So go down that rabbit hole if you want to. My takeaway from this situation is to credit people for their work if they do influence you. I remember them harping so much on plagiarism in school that citations are embedded into my brain. So even in my Rewatch Rewinds, I always have the citations in the description box so you can do your own research, but also so I can credit the people, the work of the people that I've been utilizing for these videos. Also, keep receipts for work that you share with other people. Any ideas that you talk about, if you have brainstorming session, any of that, make sure you document all that. I've heard a few rumors of celebrities stealing people's work after that individual thinks that they're collaborating with the celebrity. So save your receipts. All right, enough of that. Back to production. Although the Wachowskis believed in their idea, the studio needed some convincing before they would give up the big bucks. The Wachowskis had to show that they were up to the role of directors, partly because of inexperience. They were asking the studio to invest the cash without nothing for the studio really to go off of. They couldn't look at their previous work and say, okay, you know what, they do a good job. We can trust in their project. So all the Wachowskis had to do, it wasn't too much, was work on another script and direct a whole nother movie. Light work. They went on to work on Bound, which was reported to be well received. I never watched it, but in the comments, please raise your hand if you're a Bound head. I can tell from a clip of the movie that the tone is not the same as The Matrix, so I really would be interested to know what scenes stood out for you if you watched the movie. The second reason for the Wachowski doubt was because the Matrix story was so complicated. Just as a viewer, a watcher of the film, you have no idea what you're watching. You're just enjoying the ride, enjoying this whole new world and this big concept of living in a world within a world, or a world within a dream. Like, you don't even know. You're just going along trying to see where the movie takes you. I mean, so I get it. It makes sense that everyone had questions when they were reading the script. It was so hard to wrap their mind around the concept of the movie. They had a hard time understanding, okay, well, if we're saying this is that, then how are we supposed to shoot it? Carrie Ann Moss is going to break it down for us, what it was like reading the script.
It took me a lot of readings and a lot of conversations with everybody to fully understand the script. But I just remember thinking, I mean, they don't really think I'm going to do this stuff like running, like jumping from one building to another. I was like, well, no, of course I'm not going to do that. And like running sideways along a wall. It's like, because everything was really specifically put in the script.
All this confusion required the writers to storyboard the whole movie just so people could get some understanding. Everyone but Lawrence Fishburne, that is.
I have no idea why people who've read this script of the first Matrix found it confusing. I don't get that at all.
Eventually, people got fully on board the Matrix train, and we got this brilliant film that made us all become philosophers and detectives. 1 second, third, fourth rewatch would turn into an Easter egg hunt, with every scene being placed under a microscope for further examination. I'm not going to tell you my age, but I was too young to experience the whole Matrix phenomenon that occurred in 1999. But I can tell you for myself, this movie still creates that same feeling, I think, from all those years ago. When I went to rewatch the movie, child, when I tell you, I could not stop watching it. I ended up asking my brother, like, hey, have you ever watched the movie? And he told me he never did. So I became like the Matrix saleswoman. I had all the pitches, all the prompts. It was something like this. You never watched The Matrix? Okay, all right, let's watch it. What you mean you don't want to watch it? You can't give it 10 minutes. 10 minutes of your time is not going to hurt you. I understand we're supposed to be watching One Piece. I know that, but we can do both. We can watch One Piece and we can watch The Matrix. If you want me to watch the One Piece, then I'm going to need you to watch The Matrix, okay? I love my brother. Eventually, I got him to watch it, and of course, he was very hyped about it, as I knew he would be. The Matrix has influenced so many areas outside of Hollywood, from the leather clothing to the ongoing conversation about AI in the world being simulated. I often hear people say there's a glitch in the Matrix when someone hears a crazy story or they can't really explain what happened if they experience something unusual. I also remember us doing Neo's backbending move as a dance when I was a kid, so there was like no area that this movie didn't influence, affect, or reach. Of course, the main place that felt the most influence was the film industry. Action choreography had a huge upgrade after 1999. One technique that I want to highlight is bullet time. Bullet time is a visual effect that gives the impression that a shot is suspended or slowed down. One of my favorite scenes that mimics this is X-Men Days of Future Past, where Quicksilver saves the crew when they're trying to break out Magneto. I'll let the Matrix crew talk about bullet time in more detail.
We were speaking before of the sort of impact that comic books can have in terms of their frozen graphic moments. What we really like about slow motion is that it sort of brings some of that quality to action scenes, but what we also like is we like to move the camera. So we started off and we had this concept of shooting something in slow motion and moving the camera at regular speed.
John's idea was to replace it with hundreds of still cameras, so that's really what a moving image is 100 still images. He can make it look like a motion picture image rather than a still image.
Bullet time is basically like mind over matrix. moment, or a moment where we can see, time in, the speed of light or the speed of sound.
This is honestly such a cool cinematic effect. It only makes sense that bullet time has been credited in almost 40 projects since 1999, and I don't see it disappearing. I think it's more common nowadays for you to see an action movie with bullet time references than without. And honestly, some people do overdo it, but it's here. It's the standard. It's not going anywhere at this point. And I think that makes The Matrix one of the most influential films for the 21st century. I appreciate you so much for celebrating the 25th anniversary of The Matrix by watching until the end of this Rewatch Rewind. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I've got a few other videos I think you might be interested in, so check them out. Don't forget to put your favorite scenes or quotes down below. Thanks for stopping by.